everybody. I'm Chris Matthieu from the RealSense team, and I've got one of our experts on the line. Roi, introduce yourself, please.
Hi guys, my name is Roi Ziss. I am a RealSense architect. I've been at RealSense from day one, and I'm here to talk with Chris about many different things. But I think that Chris might want to dwell about my latest, baby, little boy. But I will assume that later on there's quite a few other topics that we can cover. If
Yeah,
these things.
Roy's usually the guy I go to when I've got a crazy idea or want to bounce something off of someone. He's hard to pin down with a job title. He's one of our experts. He has a lot of big ideas, and most recently, he's kind of the architect or the father of our brand new D421 camera. So I think you've outdone yourself maybe this time, Roy. Tell us a little bit about how you came up with the 421 brainchild and what is it? I think it's super cool. It's a brand new, fun, important camera in our product line.
Thank you. Yeah, so I'm really proud of it, and I don't know if you had a chance to see the post I did about it when we introduced it. So I mentioned it is my new kid, and my youngest son even had a dance, especially for it. Um, but yeah, the 421 is a very I think it's a very interesting concept. Doesn't necessarily bring any dramatic um, engineering achievements. I think that the main achievements coming from here is having a very unique balance in terms of what our customers, some existing customers, some customers that really wanted to be our customers but never had a chance, to afford our current cameras. Um, and the idea behind this is that when we started the 400 series of cameras, which is far the most common selling 3D camera, stereo, whatever anyone wants to name it. Uh, the number one goal was to make it work no matter what. And it comes to many different aspects, whether it's our plug and play capabilities, our drivers, connecting it. As long as you have a USB, you're good to go. Our open source drivers, of course, our SDK, but also when it comes to hardware, that guarantees that no matter what, of course, as long as you are within the specs, the camera will work and work well. Indoor, outdoor, when it's cold, when it's hot, there is vibration, when it's full, it just works. And I think that this was really what spearhead uh, RealSense to the head of the pile when it comes to being the 3D camera of choice. Again, because it just works and everywhere you put it, no matter what are the usages, um, and it's proven safe. But um, when designing something that has such a huge, robust, while maintaining very good specs that we guarantee to every customer who buys the camera, there is a cost. The cost is engineering and validation and many other aspects that rolls into the end customer in terms of cost. Nothing new here. And on the other hand, uh, although when we released the D400 cameras, we were the cheapest in the market. There were almost no other, low cost or sub $1,000 3D cameras, which were common. Putting aside the Kinect, the first generation Kinect, which was an inspiration to all of us, but then it was taken out of market because Apple bought it, and also that one could not work in places like outdoor and stuff like that. But yeah, we were not the first one to introduce to the market, but we were the first ones that really caused the market to erupt. But the more 3D cameras became more common, we realized that there were a lot of customers out there that really appreciate and needed the 3D camera in order to increase the performance or envelope of their products, but could not afford the cost of our cameras, even if it's relatively cost to everything out there. And then we realized that there's a huge market out there that would love to have a 3D camera and not necessarily requires the same quality or performance or I would say robustness as our current cameras that we have on the market. And then we started to do some exploration. What would be the sweet spot in introducing a camera that on one hand would be cheap enough. I don't like to use the word cheap because I don't think it's a cheap camera.
It's not.
It's cheaper.
It's amazing. Well, the little bit of marketing details. It's an $80 camera, and it's the depth, so true depth. And the only obvious thing to me is that it's missing an RGB camera, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it can't see things, objects, right?
Right. And you have a very cool demo, if I remember, about you showing how it can still track people.
Yep.
With using the IR sensor for sure. And again, this 421 is the first one that we wanted to see if the case that I was making up at this point was true. And by the way, from initial market reaction, it looks like. So anyway, then we had to decide on a balance between the performance and the cost and the robustness. And we came up with a good notion of what would be the usages or the main usages for this camera. For example, as we all know, RealSense is everywhere in terms of in robotics. And of course, you have high-end robotics, you have low-end robotics, you even have vacuum cleaners and stuff like that, although we don't have a RealSense camera for vacuum cleaners. And their main usage is, of course, to make the platform aware to its environment. Meaning, where do I go? How do I go there? Is there anything that might cause me to stuck, an obstacle, stuff like that? This is number one usage for the camera, especially for robotics. And when it comes to the lower end part of the robotics, when you have for example, when you relax the performance of accuracy, let's say, for example, meaning that an obstacle you see in 1 meter might be visible, margin of error of a couple of centimeters here and there, will not make a difference when it comes to this kind of product. For example, so we relax the accuracy of the camera compared to what we have with our legacy. Now, when we are relaxing, it doesn't mean when you get the camera, it's automatically half the performance or twice as worse as our cameras. It just means that this performance we are guaranteed throughout the entire lifetime of the product. So this comes to the robustness. And this is where we focus, because this is where it allows us to simplify the design and relax the manufacturing process of our current cameras, the robustness of how much this camera can shift in performance along its lifetime. That's, I think, was the main aspect that allowed us to design where we design. We did a lot of other things. For example, to those who are familiar with our current cameras, they know that it is established from an optical part. I don't have one here, but it's established with an optical part And our ASIC, where the magic happens, is in a different board. So you basically have two parts of the cameras, doubling the doubling the manufacturing of the board and some components. Here we just did it as a monolithic design that not only allowed us to dramatically reduce the cost, but also allowed us to offer this in a module way, but still usable for developers. So as we just saw, and we'll see later on, we can just plug it as it is to USB, run it, and it's good to go. Unlike our bare modules from our legacy, it's a bit more flimsy, and you don't have what it takes to do it in an easy way.
Well, and what you
Um,
mentioned for developers, I mean, all of our LibRealSense just works. Like the Python wrappers, the ROS, like it's just another solid RealSense camera, just recognized by our developer tools.
exactly. So if it's a great point, we are very proud in our SDK, both in the features, of course, the maintenance that we do. We do constant work on it. We listen, talk with the customers, the developers. So we are constantly improving it. And when we do so, it automatically applies to all of our cameras. So for example, a few of our early samplers or partners that did had a chance to receive this camera, the first thing that they said that the application and the code that they used with our current legacy cameras, when they switch it to this camera, it just worked.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't have to do a single change to the code, and it's a big seller. So definitely all the tools that we have, everything applies here, zero code change. So we talked about the robustness or the performance reduction. As you mentioned also, Chris, this does not come initially with an RGB camera, a color camera. It might come. I don't want the legal guys to kill me. And it's a monolithic design. And another advantage that we learned throughout the validation process is this design also offers a much better robustness when it comes to the USB connectivity. I won't go into why and how it came, but definitely very, very robust USB interference when it comes to the D421. Okay, I know that for quite a few customers, this is an important point to. Yeah, this is on a 20,000.
I mean, besides this thing being robust enough to service, a humanoid, for instance, your very advanced robots, what I'm excited about is the price point and the quality for makers or developers of like Raspberry Pi based robotics. And I think it opens up a whole new market where developers can afford this camera. And it's not experimental. I mean, this is an industry robust, RealSense depth camera. That's
Already
perfect.
shipping. The first batch is already, I think this week was shipped to the first. I know there is a bit backlog because the market reaction was, knock on wood, better than much better than what we expected. But it's coming. It's already shipping. It's a done deal. We can talk, if you like, about a bit of the architecture and what we changed compared to our current cameras on the market. One thing to note is we are now using a built-in IR filter inside the lenses. Again, I mentioned that this is a very much robotic oriented product. And one of the things that our customers have asked us to improve is when it comes to interference from bright external light sources, where it's the sun or other. it might causes degradation in quality on the surfaces or the plane that the robot is traveling on. So this will dramatically improve that. It will also enables us to be in a lower power and use a new kind of projector, which on one hand has much higher density of data, which improves the quality, but is also lower power. So by using a very tight IR filter, I can guarantee that this pattern will be seen by the camera in a much further away distances than our current standard cameras. And those who might be worried that this interfere in outdoor or sunlight, then I can reassure this works outdoor at least as good as indoor. So no worry there. So we although we said that we will compromise or relax the performance, and we did in some aspects, in some other aspects, we do see advantages over some of our current cameras on the market. So I think that it will be a pleasant surprise. It was a pleasant surprise for us, for sure. Yeah. And it comes with a stiffener that is required for maintaining the calibration, but it is also used for as a heatsink for harsh environments, and also as a bracket to mount to other platform. Something again that our legacy product line did not came with.
Yeah, I noticed it's got the screws on the back of this, so it's easy to mount, like more permanent. But I just put a Velcro strip that makes it really easy to plug and play on
Yeah,
various
for sure.
robotics and
We love
experiments.
that
Yeah,
one. Yeah, it's very light, which I think it's a very important thing. Um, yeah, I very 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 makers, developers, geeks like me and you kind of audience, but for sure it will find its way to mass produce product.
well, nice job, Roy. I've been having a lot of fun with this
Yeah,
camera. I know a lot of other developers are as well, and I think this is just the beginning of kind of a new era of RealSense technologies. So keep dreaming. I love the big ideas you've got. I love the new markets beyond robotics that you keep exploring as well. Thank you so much for spending some time with me today to talk about your
always a
new
pleasure.
baby, 421.
Yeah, thank you. Always a pleasure. And yeah, well, if there is a good demand and it sure looks like it, this is just the beginning.
Awesome. Thank you, Roy.